Hello. Today we're going to talk about goals and why fitness goals when you're in your 50s are so hard. My name is Chris Butterworth. This is the Healthy Butter channel, and we're talking here about fighting off the effects of father time every day, every step of the way. You wake up in the morning and something's wrong and it wasn't there yesterday, and you try to figure out if it's permanent, what happened, what did I do, how am I going to fix it? And these are things that the younger version of ourselves never had to contend with. Um, Living with chronic pain sucks. Not having full functional use of your body sucks. And I was in that position when I turned 50. Today at 56, I feel great. Functional fitness has been my key to getting back my health, my body, my fitness. Kettlebells, clubs, Mace, changed my life. And figuring out how to work with those pieces of equipment, figuring out how to build a program, figuring out what my goals should be was very difficult because there's not a lot of information online. And there's certainly nothing that's tailored toward a mid 50 something or early 50 something guy who's broken down. How do you build upon, how do you stack workouts, how do you put the pieces together to unlock your body? So I've gone through that. I'm in my 4th year on this journey, and I'm trying to share to make it a little bit easier for you compared to what I went through. When we talk about goals, there are all different flavors of goals, and when we say them out loud, there's a lot of common sense there, but not everybody thinks this way. So I'm going to say a couple things out loud. There are goals where it's just like checkbox goals. If you had a heart issue, if you have high cholesterol, blood pressure, there may be a case where your doctor just tells you you need to go walk for 30 minutes a day. Wake up and go walk before breakfast, or go take a walk with your spouse after dinner. And there's no pace, there's no hills, there's no rucking, carrying weight, there's no intervals. You just walk, right? And check mark, I did it. You can get to the end of the day and be 100% successful, and you're doing exactly what your doctor ordered. Now, you're making a big assumption that your doctor knows the whole everything, and if you do what your doctor says, you're going to be healthy. That's a whole different topic of discussion. But you were advised you need to do this, you have a goal to do that, and you do it. Day after day after day, it's easy to hit your goals. There may be other cases where you set a goal that's a little bit harder to achieve, but is still a very specific thing. My fallback goal that I use a lot is people, if you want to run a marathon, there are programs out there called Couch to Marathon or Couch to 5K. You can go from 5K to marathon. But basically, without running at all, you know how far a marathon is. It's 26.2 miles. You know that in order to be successful at that marathon, you probably need to be, your training leading up to that, the last few weeks before that, you probably need to be able to run 5 or 6 miles at a time, 4 days a week, and then have one long run on Saturday. Maybe you're doing an 18-mile run or a 20-mile run on a Saturday. In a perfect world, you would overtrain, you would even train more than that, but you know that if you can get to that level, you can finish a marathon. So now we just have to start walking back from there. At the beginning, maybe you can only run a quarter mile and then walk the rest of a mile. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you can run a mile, and you're running a mile 4 or 5 days a week. Then you're going to start having a long run that might only be 2 miles, and you increase your mile runs to 1.5 miles. And just slowly over time, you can build up that process. So you know that if you get that last step where you're running 5 or 6 miles 4 days a week plus a long run, and you know that you get the steps below that and the steps below that, and you build this little ladder of today, all I have to do is run a mile. You can checkbox it. So you know that if you built a plan that's reasonable, and there's tons of online sources to help you build that plan, and you know that this week you have to do these 4 or 5 runs, and today, here's the run on the schedule, boom, did it. check mark. So it's a difficult goal. If running a marathon was easy, everybody would do it. And there are lots of challenges out there that are marathon based or marathon typed, where it's going to be a lot of effort, it's a lot of work, but there's a known path. If you do XYZ, you will be able to do ABC. Fixing our bodies in our 50s is not that easy. There is a whole bunch of trust the process. And when I was building my program, that part sucked. I did not love trust the process. I had had some prior experience with kettlebell, and I knew that kettlebell made my back feel better, but it was really hurting my elbow. I also didn't understand the concept of using kettlebell as an entire workout. I thought about using kettlebell as a supplemental piece just because it was cool and I could do a whole bunch of different exercises at once and it made me really tired. I liked kettlebell, but I didn't know really how to use it, how to build a program. So we go through these exercises. If you're going to do swings or cleans or clean and press or snatch, if you're going to get a club, inside circles, outside circles, inside pendulums, outside pendulums, shield casts, 180-degree pullovers. There's all these little exercises, and there's no magic number where if you do this many reps of this many sets of this many reps of this many exercises, there's the magic button, your back is fixed. It's just a process. So I believed in kettlebell because I knew from before how they made me feel. I watched enough online videos, I did enough research that I believed that there was some truth in kettlebell fixing the full body. It's a full body experience, full body integrated muscles. So I started on that road, and I was fortunate enough that the results came fairly quickly for me. I went from being in constant pain to only being in pain some days, to having occasional flare-ups, to actually starting to feel better. And it happened over the matter of weeks and, a couple months. I wasn't a year into it still trying to fix my back. So I was lucky with that. However, elbow, I had to figure out technique. Shoulder, the club helped a lot. But there wasn't ever a guaranteed that if I build this program, I'm going to get the exact results I want. Also, a lot of the programs that you find online are very strength oriented. You want to run through this program, you want to do volume cycles and density cycles, and you want to run up. In order to get really strong and to do really heavy weights, you need to do lots and lots of reps. So you run up this weight, volume and density, volume and density, volume and density, and then you run a second weight below it, a heavier weight. So now you have a heavy and a light day. And then you run up both of the weights, and eventually you tap this program, this lightweight out. You don't need it anymore because you've done thousands of reps with it. And this one is becoming normal. Now you get another heavier weight, and you run these up, and you keep stacking it up. And eventually you get to the point where you get that really heavy weight. And somewhere along the line, after thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of individual reps, you're strong. All of a sudden you can do a 50-pound, a 70-pound kettlebell. For me, I did not want to run. I didn't need to do that. I didn't want to do tens of thousands of reps of the same thing. So I was trying to do some cleans and some snatches and some clean and press and some club work and some mace work. And somewhere along the line, I figured out that I feel good. I'm not chasing this ghost anymore. I feel really good. Now all I want to do, I firmly believe that status quo is difficult to maintain. So I believe that you're either getting stronger or weaker over time. And Father Time is definitely pulling us toward the weaker side. So it's up to us to get stronger. So I created some compound exercises where I'm doing swings and clean and press and snatches all in one exercise. And I maybe I'm not doing tens of thousands of reps of them. I'm only doing a few, but because I do that compound exercise more often, all those little reps add up. So I'm still doing quite a bit of reps, but it's more fun and it's more well-rounded. I'm not missing anything by doing something else. I was able to build a little bit more robust exercise. And then over time, I'm able to increase just a little bit. So each week, I don't even need to progress, but each month I probably add a tiny bit to it. And over the course of quarters and a year, I've progressed. So I'm stronger now than I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago. But that concept, so let's bring it back to the goals. My goal is no longer to do so many reps, so many sets. I don't really care about any of that. I feel great. My goal is to continue to feel great. And by getting a tiny bit stronger, by adding to my flexibility, by adding to my stretching, my opening up my hips, by doing all the stuff that I'm doing a little bit at a time, can I improve? Can I feel even better than I feel today? And can I fight off the effects of Father Time? So my goal today is purely trust the process, iterate when I need to iterate, add a tiny bit of duration or weight or whatever it is, just make my program slightly harder. 1% better a week, 1% better a month, just slightly increases. So it's a challenge. Again, goals in our 50s, there's no magic button. Doing functional fitness exercise will help you feel better, I promise. But I don't know you. I don't know your situation. I don't know your comfort level with this, your exercise, your prior history. I can't tell you exactly which exercise to do and how many and what order. This is where we all have to create our own path. But what I'm trying to help with is all the different options that are available and how to think about this as a long-term plan. So hopefully you get on board. Sitting on the couch is not the right answer. If you feel worse today than you did a year ago, imagine what it's going to be like next year. Get off the couch, get a kettlebell, start doing some functional fitness, and improve yourself, improve your station, improve your life, improve your pain, get rid of some of that chronic pain, and set goals daily that add to a longer term picture, even if we don't know exactly what that daily goal should be. Is that the craziest answer? Maybe. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you find value in it, and hopefully you get a chance to do some functional fitness and achieve some of your own goals. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.